Hello and welcome to Flanagan's Wake, a Doof Media podcast hoping Mike Flanagan had the time of his life. My name is Scott Daly, and I am your host, and I'm joined, as always, by the co-star of Order and Reprimand. It's Matt Freeman. How's it going today, Matt?
Now, am I the straight man, or am I the whimsical but highly creative detective?
I think you're the pun guy, is what I just assumed.
I'm the pun guy.
Yeah, you gotta be
I'm the sunglasses guy.
I was kind of hoping that you would have just a pun for me ready to fire off there in that introduction. I didn't tell you to do that, but I just feel like you let me down. Don't you dare.
Hold on.
Don't you dare go AI a pun. Don't you dare.
No, I'm just going to try to think of something funny on the fly.
Okay.
Ice to see you.
No, that is one of the greatest puns of all time, but I'm afraid it's not a Matt Freeman original, and therefore it doesn't count.
And it also doesn't make any sense in this context. Okay.
This week on the show, The Midnight Club continues with episode 7, Anya. We catch up with Anya 2 years after the ritual successfully cured her cancer. She's alive, but struggling with the loneliness and survivor's guilt, and nope, that was all a fake out. None of that happened. Anya unfortunately passes away, and this is one of the saddest episodes of this show. Here we are, Matt.
Yeah. I agree with you. It's one of the saddest episodes of the show. Structurally, it's one of the most unique episodes of the show for the reason you just said. Essentially, the first half of the episode is a kind of fake out, although there are quotes around fake out because it's telegraphing itself as being something weird going on pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But I think that'll be a fun aspect of things to talk about is like the effect that has.
Yeah. It is also my favorite episode of the entire show. I love this episode. I think this is great. This is like, we've talked over the last 6 weeks about, some of the problems we've had with the Midnight Club, and then some of like just some of the issues that Mike had during production and kind of being pulled in multiple directions. Anything. This to me is an episode that is like a perfect synthesis of everything that Mike and Leah Fong wanted the show to be, and perhaps also what Netflix wanted the show to be, and what everyone involved. Like it to me is just this near perfect thing. It's not only my favorite episode of the show, it's like just one of my favorite things that Mike Flanagan has ever been involved in. I really, really love this episode.
That's great.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun talking about it. It's gonna be a little sad talking about it. Before we get into it, though, we do have a quick announcement for you guys. This is going to be another sad thing as well. I'm going to try to get through it as quickly as possible so we can get to the episode. But if you folks have been following us for a while, like since back in the Kingslingers time, we did a whole big event in Bangor when we finished off that podcast. It was great. It was awesome. And if you know anything about that event, you know that the entire reason we were able to have that event, not just that it was a good event, but that the event existed in the first place, was because two of our long-term listeners, Jody and Sam, who approached us with an idea to make what we were planning at the time, just like a me and you trip to go to Bangor and celebrate the end of the podcast, into something for our listeners and something great. And they organized and executed on this event. It ended up raising over $13,000 for the Bangor Public Library there, and was just an awesome event. These two women, like after this event, like became our friends. And Jody was the one that when we really said we wanted to like set up a merch shop, she was the one that was like, hey, I can do that for you. And she basically set all that up for us and has been running our merchandise shop since then. If you've also been following the show for a while, you know that Jody's daughter, Eliza, was responsible for like almost all of the artwork on the merch shop. She was a young artist. I have my Cup of Stars mug right here. This is an Eliza original. I also have like my favorite piece of art ever, which is, I think, can the camera see it, Matt? I just blocked myself.
Some of it.
This is a sketch she did of Bly Manor. It's just one of my favorite pieces of art ever. Like when Jody showed this to me, I was like, yes, put it on the store just so I can buy it. I don't care if anyone else buys it. I want it. And it's been on my shelf back behind me. So yeah, she's been a huge part of the show since the beginning. What people might not know is that about 4 years ago, Eliza was diagnosed with a very rare form of brain cancer. And unfortunately, last week on the 10th of April, she passed away from that disease. It's awful. It's horrible. I'm going to try to make it through this. I think everyone is hurting. Her family, obviously. It's just like the worst possible thing. It's very strange, Matt. Like, we're in the middle of the show talking about terminal cancer patients going through this exact kind of thing. This has been on my mind the entire time we've been doing the show. I mean, it's been on my mind even since back in Midnight Mass. Like, I've been thinking about Eliza. I've been thinking about this the whole time. And the fact that it's happening now, we're in the middle of the show and also about to have to talk about this episode in which a main character passes away in the episode. Like, the cruel, terrible irony of it is not lost on me. But I've been trying to like think a lot about this stuff and the idea of what this whole Mike Flanagan project is, which is a writer who has kind of constantly been asking the questions that we know there are no answers to, right? Why do bad things happen to good people? What happens when we die? Trying to make sense of this world we live in that at times can seem so cruel. And I mean, of course, these I don't have any answers for these questions. Mike Flanagan doesn't have any answers for these questions. These shows, these wonderful pieces of art that we've been going through this whole time don't actually have any answers to these questions. But they do allow us, I think, to kind of think about our perspective on things. And where I'm at right now is this idea that regardless of what you believe, you know, if you believe in God, if you don't believe in God, if you think you know what's going to happen when we die, if you think you have an answer to these questions, or you have no idea like the rest of us, I think one commonality, one true thing through all this, and I think a lot of the major themes of these stories we've been talking about is this idea of we are all we have, right? Like, even if you believe in God, even if you believe that there is a higher power out there, he is still working through people. And so this idea of community, this idea of togetherness, this idea of people supporting people and helping people and remembering people and allowing people to live on through memory and story and that kind of thing is just pervasive in Mike Flanagan's work. And so that's one of the things I've been thinking about a lot, especially with the Midnight Club and this idea that I think we're going to talk about this a lot today, the idea of stories and the power of stories to as a tool to remember people, and as a tool for showing the evidence of life. I have a quick story I want to tell along that measure, and then we'll tell what we're going to try to do, and then we'll get on with the show. We got to talk with Mike Flanagan back in January. It was like, you all know that, you've seen the interview. When we cut the recording, we chatted with him a little bit after that. And one thing I wanted to do was like very excitedly show him this artwork right here, because like, as I said to you, I love it. It's one of my favorite things, and I wanted him to see it. And I also like was just imagining the excitement that Eliza would have when Jody got to tell her that Mike Flanagan saw your art. Because Flanagan was Jody's favorite director. And so I did that. And then I also wanted to share with him that something Jody had told me earlier in the year when they went out and saw Life of Chuck. I know you haven't seen Life of Chuck, Matt, but there is a cancer patient in that movie who has a brain tumor. And what was shared with me is that Eliza really appreciated how the disease was depicted in the movie, and how the character was depicted with the disease, that the disease was clearly a part of him, but it is not the entire thing that defined him. And she really liked the movie, and that's part of the reason she liked the movie. And I wanted to just share that with Mike, because I'm sure he would appreciate that. So I did that. He was very gracious and thankful. And then he did something that totally surprised us. A little bit later, like a week later, he sent us a little video that was for Eliza, just like thanking her for the art and thanking her for appreciating him and the kind words she had to say about his work. And it's just a short little video. I'm not going to share it here. That's for That's for her and her family. That's not for any of us. But it was just like an incredibly small but like amazing thing that Mr. Flanagan did for a 16-year-old girl going through this horrible disease, but also just a 16-year-old artist who had a great amount of love and respect for another artist. It was awesome. It was incredible, and it's cool to see in this theme of like, we are all we have. What can we do? Is we can do these small things for people. So the thing that we want to do here, the thing that we want to do to celebrate Eliza's life and to celebrate Eliza's art and to maybe help out some other people going through a similar thing is we have all of Eliza's artwork on our shop right now. We created a kind of separate page for that. So if you go to doofmedia.myshopify.com, go to Flanagan's Wake. If you go to the podcast thing at the top, there's a separate section. It says Flanagan's Wake : Eliza. That will bring up all of Eliza's artwork that's on our page. And what we're saying is anything you buy from now until, whenever, all the proceeds from that purchase of that stuff will go to a charity that was very important to Eliza. That charity is named Camp Can Do. It is a charity for pediatric cancer patients and survivors. So, kids, I think 8 to 17 who get diagnosed with cancer and their siblings get to go to a camp for a couple weeks in the summer and like get to be kids, get to be normal kids and do things that normal kids do and not have this horrible disease as the thing that is defining their existence and defining who they are. Eliza got to do it, I think, a couple times, and she really loved it. And it's her wishes that any donations in her name go to this charity. So that's what we're going to do. So again, you can go to doofmedia.myshopify.com. Anything you purchase on the Eliza's artwork section, we will not make a cent off that. Every bit of that money will go to Camp Can Do. And that's how we're going to honor her life and her wonderful art. And if you guys are able to do that as well, we would sure appreciate that. And I know her family would really appreciate that as well.
Yeah. And also, if you just want to directly donate to Camp Can Do, then feel free to do that as well. That might be easier for whatever reason. Yeah. For you. Yeah. Depends on your situation.
Yeah, there might be some people who already have all this merchandise, right? Like they saw saw this amazing mug or this amazing piece of art and said, I want that. And they bought it 6 months ago. And they want to contribute, but they don't need another mug or another shirt or what have you. So there will be a link right there to Camp Can Do where you can donate there. And there's a donation note on there if you want to do it in the name of Eliza. I think that'd be pretty awesome. So,
yep. Really well said. Beautifully said, Scott. And for everybody, just go look at her artwork. It's really, really beautiful stuff.
Yeah. It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. So sorry to start off the episode with a bummer, but I think this was really important. So we appreciate y'all taking the time to listen to that. And we appreciate Jody and her family and everything they've done for us. And I hope we can honor Eliza and her art in this little way. So check that out again. Once again, it's doofmedia.myshopify.com. And it's the Eliza's artwork page there. So you can check that out. Thank you all. Appreciate you. Yeah. We love you guys. And let's talk about a sad episode of television now. Let's make a transition to be entertaining about a sad episode of TV.
This is going to be a trick for sure.
Yeah. Well, we're professionals, so we can do it.
We are.
Or we can just like cut right here and then come back in 5 minutes. And y'all will never know whether we did that or not.
Yeah, might be a good idea.
All right. The Midnight Club, episode 7, Anya. This is interesting, Matt. This episode was written for television by Jamie Flanagan. This is Mike Flanagan's sibling. I think the interesting note here is every single episode of the show, including the 6 that came before it and the 3 that will come after it, Mike Flanagan has had a writing credit for every single one. So like, this isn't the first time we've seen an episode of television that did not have Mike as a writing credit on it. But that was, I think, specifically like Bly Manor. where, after we kind of talked about that on the show, we got some clarity on that. And that was basically Mike, like, kind of testing it. Like, the credits in things are confusing, right? Because, like, basically Mike was involved in the writing of every single episode of Bly Manor, but the way he was structuring who got credit for what, he was trying to focus and highlight on the writers that were key to crafting those episodes. It's not that he wasn't involved in the writing, it was like that. But that's not how things work on the Midnight Club. On the Midnight Club, it has been Mike Flanagan and someone else throughout the course of every single episode of the show so far. This is the only one where that is the exception. And so this makes me wonder, I wonder if there's something different about this episode. I think this is a masterwork episode. So, like, I want to all credit to Jamie Flanagan, who I think this is a fantastically written episode. It just stuck out to me curiously that this is, like, the only one that's like this in this series.
Maybe it's as simple as this isn't really one that has a story that's being told. It does sort of have the two plot threads thing,
sure,
but not in the same way. And I think it's divided in a different way. And maybe that was, for just sanity's sake, it just made more sense to keep it as one sweep, one authorial voice.
Yeah. I think that makes sense to me for sure. And man, it's a really fantastic episode of television. So all right, episode 7, Anya. We've said what I think. What did you think of the episode?
I thought it was a great episode as well. I mean, I'm gonna give it the highest compliment that I can give, which is that it felt like an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
For those that don't know Matt very well, or just learning Matt. He's not kidding when he says that is the absolute highest compliment he can give something.
Yeah. And what I mean, I sort of feel like what I mean by that is obvious, but just in case it's not, it's a twist on the format.
Mm-hmm.
It inserts you into a situation where you're not quite sure what's going on and you're figuring things out. But, and then it kind of head fakes you a couple times too, where it's leading you in one direction. I'll say for myself, as the episode began, I was pretty well, deceived. I was actually thinking like, oh, are we doing like a flash forward, and we're going to see like what happened to Anya? Like she did get remission, but then she went on to have a terrible life and some other, where are we going with this?
Yeah,
and it's like there's all kinds of. That's kind of one interesting thing this episode does is it points us in a lot of different places where we get to explore in that place for a while, and then it turns out like, oh, that's not really what's happening, but it's like, okay, but it doesn't matter because we already kind of explored that idea.
Yes.
So for example, the idea of Anya surviving, having spontaneous remission, getting to go home, but then that not actually being fulfilling and being isolated and alone, and really still carrying all the guilt that she has at the at the hospice, but then just going back to her life with that and not having the support system of her friends. It's like, wow, this is incredibly harrowing and poignant. And the scenes where she's mourning the loss of all her friends. But then, again, it's like, well, okay, it turns out that's not what actually happened, but we still had all those moments, right?
Yep.
So that's just really, I don't know, like smart writing, smart sequencing of events. And then it all culminates in interestingly, I was going to say finale, but it's actually like the halfway point of the episode where it's a kind of resolution, and you could call it a catharsis, where she realizes what's happening and she's at peace with what's about to happen because she has, she appreciates her friends, and she's been able to speak to her friends one last time, and they've been able to give her, to share with her and to give her some sense of belonging and, the goodness of the world and all these things. And
yes.
And what's kind of interesting to me is like that's really only like 20 minutes of a 45-minute, 50-minute episode.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I don't know, we'll probably go all over the place, honestly, but that beginning portion is so powerful. Honestly, at the end of that 20 minutes, I paused to check the time, and I was just shocked that it had only been 20 minutes. It felt like that was like a whole episode worth of emotions that I'd just gone through.
I completely agree. And when I was going back and remembering my time with the episode a month or so ago, before I watched it this week, I could have sworn that it was the majority of the episode. If you had told me it was like in a 50-minute episode, 40 minutes of it was the Anya part, and then we have I remembered the funeral on the beach. I remember that scene being in this episode. I just thought it was like that's the end stinger on a 40-minute episode where we're in this kind of Anya fake out. But no, it's not that at all. You're right. It is, and I think that's a testament to how good that section of the episode is, that it feels like it is so powerful. It is so emotionally powerful that it feels bigger and longer and more encompassing than it actually is.
Yeah.
I love what you said about getting to explore these things, and I think that's like, I think I kind of in my notes said it's like Mike is having his cake and eating it too, right? It's like it's this central problem at the heart of this whole idea and the show was that having someone be magically cured from cancer would be antithetical to the themes of the show. We said this from like the first episode after we read the book. And so how can we do this idea of what is it like to be a survivor of this thing? What is it like to have this incredible survivor's guilt? What is it like to survive this thing that was supposed to kill you? What does that look like? And the show invented a way of getting, as you said, getting to explore that, getting to actually explore those ideas and how they make a person feel, and getting all that and having that be a very powerful thing in and of itself, but then also still getting to do this thing where no, of course that didn't work. Of course the ritual didn't work. Of course it didn't. Anya dies because that is what's going to happen. That is what's going to happen to every single one of these people. And I think it is interesting. I had forgotten that the reveal that no, someone is not going to die, someone is actually going home, was also part of the same episode, which is this real like roller coaster of emotions here throughout the course of this 50 minutes of this program. Because you go from, as you said, the episode starts and you're like, I don't know, maybe this was me personally, but I was so utterly convinced that the ritual was just not going to work the first time I watched this episode, that I came into the episode like expecting that reveal. And then and it almost feels to me like the show is designed to do this, where like most people are like thinking, okay, this isn't gonna work, and then the episode starts and you're like, oh, okay. And then like maybe in the first like 5 seconds of it, you like, oh, this is just a fake out. And then it just keeps going. And we live, I think the pacing of this Anya section is so great because we live with Anya through a day before really anything unusual starts to pierce the veil of this thing. And so my thing was like, it didn't work. There's no way. And then slowly over the course of that first mundane day that we see her have, I'm like, oh, maybe it did. Maybe. Okay. Yeah. And I was like forced to kind of lower my defenses or kind of lower my analytical mind and be like, and just let the show kind of work on me.
That first day is so grounded. And then also I really appreciated the detail that Anya explains to us, like, what actually happened was they got me in a cold, damp space and then smeared blood all over me, and I got sick as a consequence of their terrible choices. And me getting sick then led my immune system to be boosted, and then it attacked the illness. So I kind of loved that as a almost like we sort of took the vampirism aspect of Midnight Mass and we provided a credible ish biological explanation for what was happening, and then kind of just left it there to be like, take it or leave it. Maybe it's magic, maybe it's a virus, I don't know. The point of this is that we don't tell you, and I kind of felt like that's what we were doing here. Is I was like, oh, it did work, but there's like a mundane explanation for it, and then it didn't work on anyone else, and so we just are kind of left with kind of more of that feeling of like, well, okay, maybe this also feels very unfair, So maybe that is what worked, or what happened. So that element of it really pushed me over the edge into thinking like, okay, maybe this is a flash forward. Maybe the flash forward episode is we see what happens with Anya. We see what choices she makes. Maybe she meets some other terrible end, or maybe not. Maybe she finds some kind of peace, and then I was guessing like that maybe we're going to go back to the Midnight Club characters next episode, and it's just going to be like Anya has left. And I was kind of like, I don't really think that's what's going to happen. I was like, I don't really see how this is going to work, honestly. But I was honestly so swept up in the moment that I wasn't really being analytical and trying to like inverse solve for what the episode was going to be.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, the idea of spontaneous regression, I actually looked this up. This is a real thing that can happen. It's exceedingly rare. I think it said like 1 in 100,000 cancer patients, and that might even be a little too liberal of an estimate. It might even be a smaller amount than that, but it is basically what Anya describes in here, that for some reason it can be brought on by some severe illness or infection, that the body, it's the immune system of the body, like goes into hyperdrive and then just decides that the tumor needs to be taken care of and just does that. Man, it would be great if we could weaponize that, right? Like that'd be awesome. But it's another instance of how biology is just so fucking complicated, and even us with our wonderful computers can't even hold a candle to what the body can sometimes inexplicably just do on its own, that we don't understand.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I love that, because I agree. Like the episode is almost designed to get you out of your comfort zone and get you like off, like you're just not sure. What does this mean for the rest of the show? What does this mean? Especially when she's listing out all our characters that we've grown to love and known on some level that they are going to die, right? That's the conceit of the show. And yet it feels much different when we have said, okay, we're in 1997 now, and we're listening to Anya say their names and then say they're dead. They are dead. They're gone. It's happened. You missed it, Scott. They're all gone now. That is a very impactful and powerful thing for the show to do, and it really kind of throws us off our game a little bit. And I think that's all by design. It's very, very well done.
Yeah. I also just wanted to talk about, we mentioned the sort of mundanity of it, but and we've complimented the acting of Ruth Codd,
yes,
consistently, I think is safe to say. This is another fantastic example where it's not that it's calling for incredible crescendos of emotion. Well, it does a couple times, obviously, but it was really just the mundane moments of her doing the repetitive checkout stuff and looking at the clock and getting the cash and going by the ballet studio and looking wistfully inside and making her meals in the evening and going to, like, I just was so swept up into the simplicity of what was happening. And I think it was the right call, actually, to kind of let these moments breathe, even let the repetitiveness of it kind of breathe, and take root, because you really start to believe that this is her reality. I think even at the point when it starts injecting little clues that something isn't quite right, I was actually paradoxically like resistant to those, because I was like, no, you're trying to trick me. This is clearly the mundane reality. Look at how bored she is.
Yeah.
Look at how not dramatic this, like what kind of a nightmare would this be if it's a nightmare that's just monotony? But of course that's basically what it is.
Yeah, I agree. One of the fun things about it, though, I think, is if on a second watch, once you kind of understand the full scope of what is actually going on here, it is fascinating the way in which the show has kind of peppered itself with clues, as to not necessarily clues as to the details of what's going on, but clues as to the unreality of what is actually happening. Like, I think the opening of the show is actually really interesting, because we open the show with like the beeping of a heartbeat monitor, right? And that quickly transitions so fast you might even not realize it into the beeping of her scanning things in the checkout line. And it's like it's a type of thing where, like, if you're paying attention, you might be like, what you do is not say, oh, did that heartbeat monitor just transition into a checkout monitor? No, what your brain will do was say, oh, I thought that was a heartbeat monitor, but I was just wrong. It was actually just the checkout beep. And that's like a really clever thing the episode does, to kind of put it right in front of your eyes, but in a way that you won't actually notice it. There's other fun things, Matt. S-Mart, which is the supermarket that she is working at, is from Army of Darkness. That is the supermarket that they work at in the film Army of Darkness, the Evil Dead movie. So that is one of those things that could like is not necessarily pointing at the unreality of this, but is just like a fun Easter egg. But it could also be pointing at the unreality of this.
Yeah, sure. I just want to talk about the beeping. Is like you first hear the beeping and you do think heart rate monitor, and then it's a checkout, and what you feel is like, they faked me out. They made me think that we're just going to be picking up with the moment of Anya in the hospital bed, but actually it's much later. How clever. And then it doesn't occur to you that it's like, no, you were double faked out. It is actually Anya in the hospital bed, and she is incorporating this into her dream. Which is just a cool, it's fair, right? Yeah. It's one of those things where, and not that this is like, I think when you try to do this sort of thing over like a 2-hour movie, you try to make like a Shutter Island type situation, then there's a big risk that you lose people because you're just like, okay, I think I get it, and then the filmmakers start having to throw in other like red herrings because you're just like, okay, what are we doing? I'm ready to find out what we're doing. I think it's actually wise to keep it to like 20-25 minutes because you're able to feel confused and then have that be resolved and have it not be like the point of this is that you're supposed to feel confused, because that's not the point of it actually. Sure. The point of it is you're supposed to be understanding Anya's journey as she goes from the beginning to her death in fairly short order, actually.
I completely agree. I just want to be clear here that you're not speaking ill of Shutter Island, right? You would never do that.
It's kind of boring.
Wow. Okay. Well, we're just going to table that and deal with that later.
Okay. All right.
I like how you sipped tea as you said that. That was well done. The other thing I liked is how the show communicated that this was a flash forward when it wants you to believe that, right? It's a shot of People's 1997 Most Beautiful People edition. This was, sorry to say, Matt, not the actual cover of the 1997 edition of People magazine, the People's Most Beautiful People, because the actual cover has the year much smaller on the cover, and I think they wanted the year to be like the biggest thing on the cover, so us dumb people watching the TV show could be like, oh, it's 1997. That's 2 years in the future. Do you know who was on the cover of People's 1997 Most Beautiful People?
I don't, Scott. Who was it?
Why don't you just throw some names out there? Just guess for me. It's a man. It's a man, not a woman.
Frank Sinatra.
1997, Matt.
Johnny Depp.
No, better guess than
Cruise.
Frank Sinatra, who was 81 years old.
He died in 1997.
I thought he died in 98. Whatever.
He died in 98. You're right. Shit.
You got it though. It is Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise was People's Most Beautiful People in 1997. Mel Gibson was 96. If you can believe that.
Okay.
90s, man. The 90s. So I just think that was a clever way of like showing us what year it was. Like the show was doing a lot of very, very clever things actually throughout it.
Yeah, the like the stuff that is making you suspicious is very, very subtle at first.
Yes.
Like I can't even remember all of the things because some of them are not even overtly wrong. It's just like the thing she's watching on TV. You're like, it's not a real TV show, but then again, I am watching a TV show, so they can do whatever they want. And then like the guy walking around with the hammer obviously reminds you of the story that Kevin tells, but it's not like you're immediately like, oh, it's a dream. You're just like, okay, that's eerie, that's creepy. The baby crying, I think, is a great note where she could be hearing a baby crying, right? Could just be a baby crying in the house.
It could just be representative of being in this kind of sort of dumpy apartment complex where the walls are paper thin, and so we hear everything that goes on around her, and that is representative of how down about her life she's currently feeling. But the baby comes to mean something else later, and I want to zoom in on that in a little bit, because I want to break that down with you, because I'm not sure I fully understand the symbol of the black goop that goes from baby to skeleton, but I think I might. So we'll talk about that. But I mean, you picked up on a lot of stuff there. The show, I think, is worth talking about. The show that she's watching on television, titled Order and Reprimand, which is like a Law and Order thing. Great name, wonderful name of a fake show.
Well, it's great because it's like tongue in cheek, but also it reminds me of Anya's whole thing, which is about guilt and self-castigating over her perceived crimes that she has committed against her, against the world, which she's largely being unfair to herself, but that's how she feels.
So the two voices that we hear talking on Order and Reprimand are Kate Siegel and Hamish Linklater. I recognized Kate Siegel's voice. Hamish is kind of throwing his voice a little bit, where like it's a type of thing where once I knew it was Linklater and I listened to it, I was like, oh yeah, obviously. But I don't know if I would have picked up on that by myself. I had to look it up and found out that they're both uncredited in these roles. And so Hamish Linklater gets to do two puns, which is delightful. I don't know if you picked up on, you let me know, the second of the two we hear, the murder that they are talking about that is being described on Order and Reprimand, is when Kevin murdered the girl in bed, and then her brother walked in and he had to kill him too. That is what they're talking about in that episode.
I don't think I got it down to that level of granularity, but I did notice definitely like, okay, it involves a hammer. We're bringing in the concept of people being murdered with hammers, which is the thing from Kevin's story.
Yeah.
I still don't think by this point I had jumped to, Dream.
Sure.
But yeah, it's very difficult to remember now at what point I was thinking what exactly.
Right. Yeah.
I think that the definitive moment of this is probably a dream was definitely involved the alarm clock and the voices coming in over the alarm clock. I don't think it was the first time, because the very first time it's just kind of the alarm makes a noise and it, you're like, maybe that was a voice, but I didn't know quite what to make of it. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, and the second time is when you start hearing their pledge to each other, right? I think it's Kevin that says it first time, and then it's Spence that says it the third time she hears it. But like, there's also an argument to be made here. Like, there's a whole section where Anya is arguing this idea of like, the thing that's most frustrating to me is all my friends died, and I really expected them to make as much noise as possible to contact me. And in the back of your head, you're like, well, Anya, don't you notice at midnight every night that your friends are like are talking to you through the radio? Isn't that them screaming to you from the other side? So like that, you could, if you wanted to, you could just play what's going on with the radio, not as an indication that this is all fake and not happening. It's an indication of that her dead friends are trying to get in contact with her, and she's not being receptive to that.
Yeah, I think that's what I thought was happening now that you mentioned that.
Yeah. One other detail of it I really like is we have those great shots where she's pulling the frozen meals out of the freezer, as you said. I love every time we do insert shots where we stick the camera in like the freezer and the microwave. I think just a very effective framing that makes that as depressing as possible. The thing I notice is we have two moments of her pulling a meal out of the freezer, and in both moments, the meal that she pulls out is in the exact same spot. And I think it's supposed to be 2 consecutive days. So I think this is another little, maybe tiny little clue that this is operating on not reality logic. The other just like broad thing is our scope of the world is so limited. We have this strip of stores along this drag that is a ballet store, a hardware store, a video game store. Every time she walks by them, the ballet store is playing the same exact music. The video game store is making the same exact video game, generic video game noises. These things don't really jump out to you at the time, but like when you come back and look at it, it's like starts really playing with dream logic rules. And then of course that all accelerates quicker and quicker and faster as everything goes.
That's interesting. Yeah. There's one element that I just wanted to bring up, which is that, and this is partly confusing at the beginning, although I don't know if that's the specific desired effect, which is that she has her prosthetic leg in the beginning, and so she walks home from the store for the first time, and I remember it kind of being like, is this the past? Is this an alternate world?
Sure.
And then when she gets home, she takes off the leg, and you're like, okay, so this is, we're not being that screwy with things. And I guess other than that moment, I just thought it was interesting because, the Anya that we know presumably has a prosthetic leg somewhere, but she seems to be comfortable going around in the wheelchair, I guess. I mean, or maybe it's more that, with the painkillers she's on and the pain that she's in, it's simply she really needs to be in the wheelchair, and she would use the prosthetic leg otherwise. Maybe that's more what it was, actually.
Yeah,
sorry. Now that I'm saying it out loud, that seems more likely, actually.
I don't think she has a prosthetic leg. Yeah, I think the pain she's under, and also just she's those things are very, very expensive. And like her terminal diagnosis, it seems like something that we know she has crutches, right? She gets to the beach via crutches. We see that in the background of the Amesh episode. But yeah, I don't think she has one. So you got to pay attention to the magazine, Matt. The magazine told you the year, so you would know it's not a flashback immediately because the magazine.
It's true. You're right. Well. So I was actually thinking even more TNG. Like, is this an alternate world where they're all gonna like meet each other?
Yeah.
This is a flash sideways.
Sure.
I was going wild, man.
Yeah, no, I think that's the episode working on you the way it should. It's got you in this mode where you're kind of not sure what to believe. Another fun moment I wanted to talk about in relation to this is very early in the episode. It's like, I think the first time her manager at the grocery store kind of talks to her, because she's like, the whole "you seem listless" conversation. I really love in that scene. We don't even know necessarily what's going on yet. But there's a brief moment where we see like a group of 4 teenagers walk by while the manager is talking to you, and you see Anya like immediately look out of the corner of her eye at him, like she's paying attention to the manager, and then like stops to look at this group of teens. And we don't realize it at the time, but the reason is because she's horribly lonely. She's missing a friend. She's carrying this massive amount of survivor's guilt. And so seeing this group of teenage friends just like hanging out together is really heartbreaking for her. But one, and I didn't pick up on this until like the third time I watched the episode, Matt, what the manager is talking to her about is how she's doing and how she's transitioning into this new job. And the line she says is, transitioning from where you were to where you need to be, that can be tough. And that is exactly what's happening to Anya right now, right? She's transitioning, she's dying, she's transitioning to where she's going to go, and she's this is a dream world she's creating, that's like processing all her fears and doubts and insecurities about this realization that she is dying.
Yeah.
And so again, it's like they put it right in front of your face, but you just don't notice it, because why would you?
Yeah, that reminds me of kind of, I think, a related beat when she's going to these group therapy sessions, and the first time she does it, and Jamie Flanagan is the therapist,
yes,
or the leader, and the first time she does it, it feels grounded, it feels plausible, like this is a therapy session for a person who has gone through something really terrible, and she's talking about what she's feeling, which is a good trick in narrative. You have an excuse to have the character give an impassioned and beautifully performed monologue about their emotions.
Yeah.
But then the second time, I think it's the second time, it starts to be a little bit uncanny, where she's like, "Am I the only one who contributes to these things?" and then all the other people are just like staring.
Yeah, it's creepy.
And you're like, yeah, it's creepy, because and that that I mean, obviously you're right that it's her psyche building this, theater / arena for her to tackle what she's going through. But I felt like that was almost spiritual, like the idea of these judges. I think it was just the way they were sitting. They were kind of sitting around her in this semicircle with this lawyerly, posture and listening to her speak, and it's almost like they were weighing her words, deciding, what are we going to do with her? What does she deserve? But also, again, it's the thing where it's ambiguous. It could totally just be this is how she's looking at herself, right?
Yeah, I mean, I love that. Like, even if you're absolutely right, that could still just be a construction of her psyche, that she feels like she needs to be judged. Because that is one thing we know about Anya is that she hates herself. She harbors this incredible guilt about the choices she made and what she did to her parents and to Rhett, and now that is continued along in this version of the world to her friends. This survivor's guilt she feels about all her friends have died and she is the only one that hasn't. And so it's like this horrible feedback loop that she's put herself in unintentionally at the very end of her life. It's really sad.
Yeah.
And to talk about, I think I want to talk about like why this is happening this way. And I think the show does a very good job of revealing this to us. And it does so via the conversation she has with Rhett, which I loved very much. Once again, to fit into our idea of this is actually operating on dream logic and we don't even realize it. I love the way the Rhett conversation was shot for a couple reasons. So the first one is, it's just a really great choice that the start of the conversation, when we see her call Rhett, the camera is placed outside of her window, like looking into her window and into her room, which puts you immediately in this weird space where it feels voyeuristic, right? Like it feels like, oh, we're not supposed to be looking at this, right? This is intensely deep and personal for her, and we're kind of intruding on it because we're peeking in through the window. But then when it cuts to Rhett in his room, the way the shot starts is Rhett is out of focus in the background, and in focus, huge in the frame, is a giant hourglass. It's not actually a giant hourglass. It's just very close to the camera. But it's an hourglass that has just been flipped over. The sand is like, there's a little tiny bit of sand at the bottom and most of the sand is at the top. An hourglass is a very big symbol in the show, as we know. But an hourglass that has just been flipped over is completely illogical because Rhett is sitting on the bed far away from the hourglass, right? Like for this scene to have worked, he would have had to go over and for no apparent reason flipped over the hourglass and then walked back to his bed and opened up a book. And then the phone just happens to ring at that moment. It's not rational within the world of the scene unless you realize that this is a scene operating on dream logic, which is exactly what it is.
Yeah. I also wanted to talk about the Rhett scene, by the way, because it's so painful,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And part of it, I think it works perfectly that it works perfectly when you don't think it's a dream, and then it works perfectly when you know it's a dream, which is an interesting statement because he basically almost all he says to her is like, "What do you want from me?"
Mm-hmm. What do you want?
He says it twice, and it's a completely shut down, stonewalled, complete denial of any connection or solace of any kind that she might be seeking to get out of this interaction. And all it is just her getting increasingly desperate and really us and also herself realizing how desperate for any kind of human connection she is while watching that connection be totally denied. Because indeed there is no one there is the key thing, right? There is no Rhett. To me, it connects in this really elegant way with the later moment when Ilanka finds Rhett's number and tries to call it and just gets the dial tone.
Yeah.
Which, just a brief little side journey here, she does successfully contact Anya's friend. I don't remember if the name is Rhett in the book or not, but
I think it's Bill in the book.
Yeah, I think you're right. Successfully contacts Bill, successfully, there's some closure there. In this case, there's not. It's a dial tone. And to me, that was like, that's what this scene was, is Ilanka reaches out and she doesn't get a dial tone. She gets a dream logic dial tone, which is a version of Rhett who is completely unresponsive and unhelpful and just might as well not be there.
Another hint towards the dream logic of this whole thing. I agree with you completely, but Rhett's bedroom is Johnny Depp's bedroom from Nightmare on Elm Street. And I know you haven't seen a Nightmare on Elm Street, so you don't have the point of comparison, but like there's like a poster on the wall with like a hand on it. There's the television, this very distinct TV set that's on the bed where Rhett's sitting on the bed. That is right out of a Nightmare on Elm Street. Like it is exactly like by design. And you could play, Watsonian or Doylistic with this, right? Is this Anya is constructing in her dream logic when she's calling Rhett? She's constructed a room from A Nightmare on Elm Street because she likes that movie or whatever? Or is this just the show, the creators of the show once again kind of hinting towards us to this is a dream? It's fun. It's really fun.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I didn't notice that, but there is, I think even though I didn't know that specific reference, there's a kind of constructedness to it.
Yep.
It feels even this version of Rhett almost seems like his hair is too nice. He's like her memory of Rhett on his best day. He's the concept of Rhett.
Yeah.
Because it's a dream, right?
Yeah. But I think one thing she says to him on the phone when he's being completely unresponsive is the thing that unlocked what this whole sequence was doing for me. What she says is, I could never imagine a life in which anything ever fucking worked out for me. I never could. And that is exactly what's happening here, right? She is building this world in her mind where the thing she desperately hopes happens is that this works, that she's cured, that she is cured of cancer and gets to leave this place and gets to live. Her brain is doing that, but this is Anya. And so even in this perfect version of everything worked in this ritual the way I wanted it to, she can't imagine a life in which she is happy and content. She can't, because of all these things she harbors. So even her subconscious in this moment is constructing the idealized version of what could happen from this event, and yet it still has all these things that weigh on you down and that eat away at her. This self-doubt, this guilt, this self-hatred, and the people in her life either aren't there or, as you said, are unresponsive or unkind. It's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking that this is what Anya's brain is doing as she prepares to die. It still cannot imagine a life in which anything would have worked out for her ever.
Yeah. And then I think, I don't want to rush toward the end here, but I think that then there's a very concrete switch gets flipped. I think about the time when the bloody hammer gets put on the cash register on the scanner, and we tear the veil. We go from, yeah, this is plausible, but there's a weird thing happening here or there, to rapid fire. Nothing makes sense. Things are warping around spatially.
Yeah.
And then culminating in like florid hallucinations of demonic things coming down from the ceiling. I obviously skipped over a ton of stuff in there, but that's everything we've been describing accelerating, and she's torturing herself in it becomes a true nightmare, right? A true horrible nightmare where she's screaming and sobbing by the end of it.
So I do have a question about this though, and I'm not sure if I want to conclude on this definitively, but like, what it is a nightmare, and it is like it is all the stories that she's been told all throughout the show kind of pushing their way into her dream. But it does ultimately like wake her up from this dream she's having. And in this dream, she's living in this miserable existence where she harbors this guilt and this incredible loneliness. And so there's a part of me that wonders if like, if what's happening here is through their stories, the Midnight Club is piercing the veil of this self-imposed nightmare that she's having to free her from it, which then allows her to have this truly cathartic moment where someone else gets to tell her their version of her story, a truly idealized version, a truly happy, contented version of her story. So like,
yeah.
I struggle with this a lot because my first read was definitely what you're saying is this is a nightmare and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse until it explodes. But on the other hand, why is the nightmare coming in the form of the stories that all her friends told throughout the show? Well, it's because they're talking to her. They're there, and she's not allowing herself to hear them. She keeps turning the radio off the second she hears them, right? She's like, I think that moment, the first time when the radio comes on, she is so quick and immediate to turn that off. And I think that stems from her, the way she feels about herself. So yeah, I mean, I still think it is kind of nightmarish just by the fact that these are horror stories that are coming to life in her mundane existence. But there's a part of me that sees it as the influence of her friends on her life breaking through.
Yeah, so I'm glad you said that, and I agree that I sort of stopped right at the edge of the next transition, which is her realizing, oh, it's their voices, and this is what really got me, like the whole episode. This was the moment, was like her realizing, oh, it's not, I didn't survive and go on and live a miserable, isolated existence where nothing worked out. My friends are all still here with me, and I'm going to die, and I'm going to die with essentially with them speaking to me and trying to share with me, and this being incredibly relieving to her.
Yeah,
relieved to realize that she is in fact dying, and this being a great solace to her in her final moments.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously that moment of sadness she has when she, like, when the realization dawns on her, and I think part of that is the tar baby, for lack of a better term, on the ceiling, is that moment of realization that as it, and this is what I think that means, by the way. This thing starts as a baby, and then we watch it grow, and it goes from a baby to an adolescent to an adult to an old lady to a skeleton. It is representative of life and death. It carries us from birth all the way to death, and it is that death reaching out to her, and that is her moment of realization of what is actually happening. So yeah, I agree with you. I think there is that initial sadness at realizing, oh, I'm dying. Of course, everyone would feel that way. But then, yeah, that is immediately followed up by what she had was this fierce loneliness and this terror at being alone, and this terror at being unable to envision this version of her life that could ever work out. And that's what your friends are there for, right? That's like, we talked earlier about the power of stories and the power of companionship and community. And like, that's what these people can do for her. She cannot envision a life in which everything works out for her. She cannot have this final happy dream before she transitions to the next phase of existence, but they can do that for her. They can give that to her. And that's the moment where I started crying, because it is beautiful, and and like it doesn't lessen the tragedy of death. It doesn't minimize what a horrible, awful thing it is to have to die to this terrible disease, but it gives her something in her final moments. I think the things that Alanka says to her as she dies is, I hope you hear me when I say we're all in there with you, and we always will be. You're not alone. Everything is going to be okay. And we always will be. I mean, when we talk about like fear of death, thank you, I think what we're really talking about is like fear of the unknown and loneliness, right? Like fear of being alone. What lies after death? If it's nothing, then that is terrifying, because nobody wants to be alone, right? And I just find that so incredibly moving and powerful, and that it is just a beautifully constructed build from the first moment of this dream that she has to that revelation, to that final beat, to the of what we're doing with this whole thing. And it's brilliant.
Yeah, I agree. It all comes together incredibly well, like in terms of the drama of it and as a TV show, but like conceptually also, like setting aside, I don't know if I'm saying this right, but like, even abstracted from the medium, I find that to be a incredibly impactful story.
Yeah.
Idea, concept. And then of course it is dramatized in a way that makes you that is emotionally effective.
Yes.
I just wanted to remark, like, Anya has been haunted by this like black thing, goo, whatever, coming from the ceiling, right? For a few episodes now. And we haven't really gotten like a good look at it before. It's like a shadow, or it's like a darkness kind of coming down. And it's always been terrifying. And I don't know if I'm reading this right, on the level of metaphor, but for me, like, being able to kind of see that it's like baby, adolescent, adult, and then death that's like a different narrative.
Mm-hmm.
That's not like you're being stalked by death. That's like, this is what life is. Life is this sequence, and the sequence ends in death, and that's what it is. It just is that. And it's not scary. I mean, my point is somewhat undercut by the fact that it's still a thing that's like hanging over her and she's like sobbing. But for whatever reason, that time I was watching it, it struck me more as like, she's not seeing this because like there's a demonic presence that's terrorizing her. It's just like that. This is it. We've gone through the process. We're at the end of the process now.
Yeah. I agree. And I think part of this is the way it's framed in every other part where she sees this is it is like this thing is like hunched over and like a predator attacking her. It is still death reaching for her, and that is still scary because death is scary, right? But and maybe I'm reading too much into this. I didn't see death's like final reach down to her as what you're saying, as a thing like grasping her. It was almost as if it was like an arm extending I thought it was doing this, right?
Yes. Which the palm up in the more kind of welcoming.
Right.
So I think we're on the same page there. Yeah.
So it's like the thing we've been seeing again and again throughout the show, but reframed to be still scary, still frightening. It is, as you said, it is still a a morass of like black tar on the ceiling, slowly reaching down to her. That's still scary, and death is still scary. But yeah, this is a much different framing. And you want to know my favorite? I don't know if you notice this. My favorite detail of the story that Natsuki tells them. Or tells her about how she's going to get to be with Rhett and move into this house and have family. And then they're all going to get the houses next door and come hang out with her in their old age. We get to see old age versions of every single character. And they all are wearing wigs that give them gray hair, except for Cherie, who looks... We only get to see her from behind, so I don't know like how made up she is to look old or not. But like every other person is like they've got gray hair, they're wearing like old person clothes, and they're walking a little hunched. Like they're walking as if they're like older and slower, right? But Cherie is just there, and she's still got her jet black hair. She's still, in my opinion, like holding herself and walking like a young person. It's like in this future version of existence, everyone's old except Cherie's like, well, no, not me. Like that's not my version of this perfect idealized thing, is that I get to look like this forever. Right. Which is so her. It's perfect.
That's funny. I like that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I loved every bit of this. I did, before we move on, just want to mention some more fun of like the dream logic crashing around them. I love the point where Stanton walks into the game shop like after being called 30 seconds ago, and we do this really fun thing where she walks in and then we see Luke and I forgot what, Becky, that's Natsuki and Amesh, and then we do this whip pan from them back to her, and then we do like we do a whip pan from her to them, and then back to where Anya is standing. But like we've gone full dream logic, so like Stanton walks in, and then we whip, and then we whip back to where, and then suddenly Anya is standing where, like, in order for that to happen logically in the scene, Stanton would have had to like walk right through her because she's just standing exactly where Stanton was the moment before. And this is, again, another indication that like we've gone full dream logic with this thing, that the rules of the world are crashing around us.
Yeah. I'm glad you pulled that out, because I definitely noticed it. And it's great because it's not, your typical like something just wildly impossible has happened. But it is the kind of thing that happens in dreams where it's like just slightly physically implausible thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's the reason why we have all these rules in filmmaking about like where we should have the cameras and where we should put stuff, and why there's a whole rule around the 180-degree line. It's like, it's not because it's like immediately like noticeable, but it's just like it unsettles you. Like something doesn't add up in your head, and you might not consciously notice that, but it like it conveys a different feeling and emotion, and very effective.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about this though, because we've talked about this very mundanely with no supernatural stuff connected to any of this that's going on here. An interesting note here. I don't know if you remember this. Anya sees Luke and Becky from Amesh's Death Day story. See you later. Anya was not present when that story was told. Anya was sick and in bed during Amesh's story. She was not there. So how is this story in her brain? How is this here?
It's the magic of the Midnight Club, man. That's I don't know how much I'm joking there, because like we do see at the end of the episode, Stanton shows up, and it's like Stanton seems all like knowing and deep. And this thing has happened so many times in this show where Stanton like hints at some connection to the deeper mysteries of what's going on.
Yeah.
And I'm just mentioning, I mean, we're going to talk about Stanton more in a second, I expect, but just I was just reminded of just like, I think there is something magical when it comes to the Midnight Club, but it's not like so okay, this is my theory. Segue into theory for some reason.
Okay.
Is that there's sort of like two poles here, okay? There's Samantha Sloyan pole, which is like we're going to use magic to extend our lives. And then there's Stanton, which is basically we're going to use magic to deepen our lives. To riff on what the angel says when the angel comes to.
You mean the janitor, Matt? He's just a janitor.
Yeah. Right, the janitor.
He's a
angelic janitor.
He's a Nietzsche quoting janitor.
Yeah,
that only shows up after a person dies.
Yeah, and is never seen anywhere else in the building, and has a perfect quote, a perfect like person specific piece of wisdom about death for everyone. That's like the magic of the Midnight Club is not we're going to save your life. The magic of the Midnight Club is we're going to give you a beautiful send off, and it's going to be life affirming and the best it could possibly be, but you're not going to get any extra hours of life out of this. It's not about the hourglass. It's about the meaning of the time you have left.
Yeah.
And maybe there's a little bit of magic to it, but the magic is the magic of literally normal humans telling each other stories, because that's what magic is.
Love that. I love that a lot. Yeah, and I agree, and I think that is like, to be clear here, I'm not saying like they messed up. They included a story that Anya didn't hear, and therefore plot hole. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is exactly what you said. I think this is gesturing towards something that there is a greater power here at work. And maybe it is not magic in the way we think when we think of magic, but just, the power of story, the power of, I think the quote that Stanton gives a little bit later is the sounds of stories are the sounds of life.
Sounds of stories.
Right. And so like obviously the show is placing a great deal of importance on the power of stories and storytelling. That's why the show operates the way it does. It's not just to have fun little B plots with spooky stuff. It's like that's the point. It's the point of these things ultimately. So yeah, I think I'm right there with you for sure.
Cool.
How did you feel about the angel scene though? I loved it so much. I love Robert Longstreet. I think he is the perfect person to play this kind of stuff. Like it's just the small stuff. Like he reads the quotes perfectly. It's not length of light, it's depth of light. And he says just the line read of "she was kind even when she was a lot of pain." That's hard to do. That's beautiful. I love that line read. And then when Ilanka's response is she was also like a raging bitch on wheels, and that's beautiful too. And Longstreet's like laugh, like nodding laugh of like, yes, you're right. That too. Yes. Just pitch perfect, man. He's so good. He's so good there.
I feel dumb for not having made this connection yet, but in the book, we have this idea. It's probably just because we haven't read the book in 600 years or 7 weeks. But in the book, Ilanka has this. Ilanka is kind of a different person in the book. Okay, just to remind us that she kind of low-key actually believes in past lives and has like spirit meetings with this wise sage, this timeless, Buddha character who is trying to impart on her the wisdom of, the timelessness of reincarnation.
Yeah.
In fact, the book is quite opinionated in some ways about like the meaning of it all, and it's actually trying to give answers to a degree that the show is not. The show is not actually saying it's fine, you're gonna reincarnate, nothing matters. That is not the show. I mentioned this to say, I think the Robert Longstreet character is the closest thing we're going to get to that sage.
Yeah.
But the wisdom he's providing is not the sort of, I'm not going to be too derogatory, but the sort of stuff that the sage character in the book is saying is I don't find persuasive. The stuff Robert Longstreet's character, the angel, is saying is basically just like, here's the perfect nugget of human wisdom, not even from a religious context. It's just someone had this thought, and I think in this moment you will find it comforting.
Yeah.
And it's not going to magically solve your problem. You're not going to go, my grief is gone. Thank you for saying the perfect thing. They feel a little bit better. They have another tool to use in their toolbox, and then they go on with their day. And I think that's great, actually.
Yeah. But does Ilanka fully absorb the message that she's getting from our angel here, right? Because the scene ends on him listing quotes and saying another Emerson quote is like, death is just going away for a little while, only to return, and she quotes Lennon saying, it's like, getting out of one car and getting in another. And the scene ends on her saying, fuck the car and fuck cancer too. And like, I think I want to be careful here because like, it's very easy to sit here and be like, yes, like it's not, I completely agree with you, Angel. It is not length of life, it's depth of life. But also like, fuck man, why not both? Right? Like,
right.
Like, I think that is a beautiful sentiment, and I agree with it. But I also agree with Ilanka's like, man, fuck this, fuck like no, like why? It's like the one thing she says to Anya in the final moments of like, this is so unfair. It's so unfair, and even the black goop on the ceiling that becomes death. That goop goes through baby, adolescent, adult, old lady, and then skeleton, right? That's how it's supposed to work. And yet in this instance, no, we skip all those other ones. We this life ends now. And it's infuriating. And like, so like, I'm very into the scene for that specific purpose. Cause like, I find myself like, Robert Longstreet is such a warm, comforting presence. The way the scene is lit, we talked about with the first one, like the whole setup of it is comforting and warm, and he's speaking very intelligently and ultimately like truly, I think. But at the same time, I just can't help but be like, yeah, totally. But also, fuck this, right?
Yeah. 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 I mean, and I also think it's kind of goes along with your point that when she says that, we actually get a shot of him reacting to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, and his reaction is this like, it's a small, small kind of sad, peaceful smile,
Yeah.
and just him nodding.
Mm-hmm.
He's not, disagreeing. He's not, the idea is not like, he has failed to solve her problem. It's just him. He's commiserating. He's like, here,
Yeah.
he's basically like, here's some wisdom that might help. And she's like, yeah, that's kind of a beautiful idea, but also this still fundamentally and profoundly sucks. And he's like, yeah, it still does.
Yeah.
And that I think that's like exactly the right tone to strike.
Yeah.
So to your earlier question, like, does Ilanka absorb it? I mean, I don't think she rejects it. I think she absorbs it as much as you can expect a person to in that situation where it's like, I hear you. I don't know that actually helps me very much. Better than nothing, I suppose.
Right.
Thank you for trying. And which is not nothing, right? It's not nothing to kind of offer someone some solace.
To try to say someone that, while it is of course a horrible, awful tragedy that your life was cut so short, isn't there stuff to celebrate in the fact that what a life though, right? Like I do think that matters. And I think perhaps sometimes we get so caught up in the unfairness and the tragedy of it that we can't see the depth of that life, right? And that is ultimately what I think what he's trying to do. I mean, I think in no way does saying it's not length of life but depth of life say that, oh well, it's okay for children to die, right? Like that's not an implicit thing in that. It's just in these moments where we're sad and destroyed and devastated, the thing we can find solace in is the fact that this person might not have lived a long life, but she did live a deep one. She did live a great one. She was passionate and powerful and kind, even when many other people wouldn't be, and loved so strongly the people that were important to her, and that matters. That matters more than a number of years, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Because we're all going the same place in the end.
It's true. I don't like that either, but at least it seems kind of balanced in some way. Yeah.
But I do not think it's an accident that the way the show is structured is we have this conversation with the angel where he's trying to offer her solace. We cut from that to her conversation with Stanton, where Stanton like reads her the riot act. Understandably, she's furious at her for what she's done. I really like that quote, by the way. You do not know me, Ilanka. You do not know anything, me. Which is like you said earlier in the episode is anything. Another one of our. How much do you know, Stanton? What do you know? What's going on?
What's really going on here? Yeah.
I did like Stanton's like when she asked Anya, like, where did you get this? And Ilanka's like, I got it in the library, actually. There's a moment where Stanton, you can see her go like, oh, fuck, I missed something.
Right. Because that's not what she expects to hear. She expects to hear, I was skulking around somewhere I shouldn't have been, or someone gave it to me who I shouldn't have been talking to. And it's just like, if it's just in the library, she seems very surprised, taken aback. Mm-hmm. And she definitely seems to know what it is, right? Because she burns it. Yeah. It's not just like, she has seen this book before.
Oh, yeah. She knows exactly what it is for sure. And then, it is not an accident. We cut. So we go from janitor trying to offer advice. We go from Stanton admonishing her for what she did. And then we go back to Shasta. She is once again seeking solace in this woman who is telling her all the things she wants to hear, but perhaps not the things she needs to hear. Like, I loathed her in this conversation. I loathed this idea of what we have as a person trying to help her through the pain of losing a friend. And then Shasta comes up and says lines like, life can prevail. And I'm like, and what we don't mean through the janitor way of the depth of your life, the power or the power of stories, right? That Stanton echoes later. No, we just mean years, time, hourglass. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the idea, the inverse of what the janitor says is it is not depth of life that matters, but length of life. The most important thing is how long you live. That is the most important thing. And I love that moment where she says, this is pitch perfect Sam Sloyan.
It's important to do no harm.
It's important to do no harm.
Unless you have to.
Unless you have to.
Yeah. I like it because it's not, I mean, it's a tad villainous for sure. Mm-hmm. I think the show is definitely nudging us in that direction, but it's not altogether without sympathy because that's where Alanka is, right? Alanka desperately doesn't want to die. That's why she came here. It's literally why she's here. And, I actually think it's very well written. Like what Samantha Sloyan's speech is very well written. I forget what was in this episode versus like the previous episode we talked about before, but it was like, okay, but like if instead of offering you a magical ancient Greek cure, I was just offering you a medical cure that happens to cure your cancer, it would just be like, of course I'll take that. Mm-hmm. Are you crazy?
Yeah.
But because it's like, spiritual coded, we've been trained by narrative tropes to be like, no, don't do that. It's just kind of interesting because like the character has lampshaded that concept for us, where it's like, I mean, I'm repeating myself, but if this character meeting her in the woods was just like, here's a syringe with monoclonal antibodies injected into your leg, we'd just be like, try it. I mean, can't hurt, right?
I don't know. Some strange woman in a woods gives you a syringe and says, stick this in your body. I would probably be like,
Right, but if she's already terminal, sure. I think is my point here. So Fair. It's like desperate to try anything means desperate to try anything.
Sure.
So at my point, like I'm not really disagreeing. It's just like I felt like the show is going for something more subtle than just she's evil.
Yeah. I think I agree with that.
But I do agree with you where she goes, unless you have to.
Just
that was great.
The Sam Sloyan like laser focused Bev Keen look on her face was just too great to ignore. I mean, I guess my resistance to it is not even because I agree with you. Like this idea of she's trying to offer her help and support in any way she can, and she believes the things that she's saying. She legitimately believes them. I guess it's just like we have this moment of these. We have these three different people all trying to help them, and some are coming from this position of like, we're all very sad, but here's the ways we can deal with that sadness. And then Shasta comes in and is like, yeah, well, of course it didn't work. It's not always going to work. It's not like it's not like baking a cake, So it's like, it's like you can already see the like, well, we got to try again. Let's try again and see what we did wrong the first time. And it's like, that just feels like not the way we should be going.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, it's undermining Ilanka's journey to accepting what is happening to her and finding some kind of peace before the end of her life, because and again, it's like, you don't like, do you actually know this, Shasta, or are you just, did you read some old books too and you just kind of want to see her try it,
yeah
just want to that's the part that becomes a little sinister to me.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
I do just want to say, like, there's a really brief moment in this episode. Like Tim shows up. Her father, Tim, shows up in this episode for like 6 seconds. And it's really interesting because I mean, I don't know the order of which they filmed the show, whether they like filmed this Tim scene way back earlier in the season. But I like to think they brought this actor out there for a 6-second scene weeks later from the last time he worked. And just that they felt it was like so important in this moment that Tim shows up for his daughter when she lost a friend. Like, I just really like that. It's not like it was setting up a later scene. It's not like we see them interacting again. No, he just shows up in his door and he's just there to say the thing that everyone feels when you're talking to someone who has just lost someone important to them, where you just don't know what to say. You just don't know what to say beyond, I'm just sorry. I'm just so sorry. And like, you want to say something, you want to think you're going to say the thing that's going to make it better. Even if you know rationally that like there's nothing you could say that actually is going to make this thing better. There's nothing you can say that's magically going to make the pain of it go away. But you feel like you feel the pressure of wanting to do that. And that's what Tim, I think, wanted to do when he walked. Maybe he was even thinking in the car on his way up, like what he was going to say to her. And then he got to her, he saw her. And the thing he says is just, I'm just sorry. I'm just sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. It's a beautiful, small, but important moment.
Mm-hmm. We're kind of just going in order in this, which we don't normally do, but it just feels like this is the episode that we should just go in order on. So we get to the Midnight Club meeting next, Matt. They read the note from Anya, which was great. Really loved it. Anya's pledge to, once again, be the one that's going to contact them from beyond.
And we do see the statue, I think, on Ilanka's bed, on someone's bed.
Yeah,
so the statue is clearly in the scene, but we haven't, we're not following up.
It was
with that
was
yet.
in the box of things that Anya left for Ilanka. So yeah, the stage is set, book readers, for the payoff of the book being that the statue is magically healed. The stage is set for that. We'll see if the show is doing that, but it seems like it's building to that, right? We don't know for sure. And then Stanton walks in. I actually do love the reveal that, of course, she's known they've been doing this the whole time. Like, it actually makes perfect sense. Like, there's a moment where she says, like, how do you think you always had fresh firewood? And we cut to a mesh who is just like, oh yeah, duh. But like, in the book, this place had a lot more patience than in the television show version of it. So like, there's a version of you that can believe that the people that manage this house, the doctors and the nurses and what, would not notice 5 of their 30 patients sneaking out at night to do this thing. But in a world in which everyone in this room is every single patient in the entire place, the idea that the night staff would not notice that they're all missing from their beds is preposterous. Like, you don't even think about that, because like, it's very kid logic, right? It's just like this idea that all children have from young all the way up to adulthood of like, we're able to, like, they don't see it. They don't see the things that we're doing. We're able to operate on this level of secrecy that you don't know about. I'm dealing with this with my son right now, by the way, who like is hiding toys under his pillow at night because he wants to play with toys after he goes to bed. And I just always know that they're under there. And he's just like, what? How did you see? How did you know? And we started calling it parent magic. But it's just like, it's very obvious. He's just not good at hiding them at all. It's the same kind of deal. Like, this idea that they could operate successfully under her nose at midnight every night for years and years and years is preposterous.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I think, honestly, it's the kind of thing where we just accept that as the conceit, because it's like, that's the conceit. The conceit is they meet up secretly at midnight. Somehow that makes sense. And they never get caught because maybe there's no one around in a hospice where there would definitely be nurses. And yeah,
definitely. It's great. And we already kind of talked about what she said is that she's really struggling because she understands, and maybe she understands the magic of it, as you said. But even if it's not magic, even if it's just the mundane nature of like, I recognize this is very important to you. I think this is one of the most incredible things that has been made in this house is this tradition of these kids getting together and telling stories. And I don't want to take that away from you. I really don't. But I also feel like I can't have you guys do what you did that night. Like, I just can't. I have a responsibility as a doctor and the caretaker of this place to prevent you from doing that kind of stuff. So you really feel her torn part of this, and I think we can talk about the beats that finish the episode for Stanton in this moment too, because we get to see her from a new angle a little bit here.
Yeah, we get to see her be more human. I just want to say before we get there, maybe disable the access to the secret cult basement.
Right. Yeah.
If you don't want the kids going down there doing dark rituals.
I agree. Isn't it fun that like what we see in the flashbacks of what happened there is that Stanton showed up in the cult basement.
Right.
How'd she get there? So, she knew about it, right?
She knew about it. She somehow knew that they, well, actually that's, it may have been the case that someone went and got her.
Sure.
Because Anya was having an episode of some kind. But she doesn't seem surprised by the existence of the basement. I agree with that statement.
Yeah.
And then so we see her kind of, she's talking to someone on the phone who just sounds like a friend. For a second there, I was like, is she talking to Shasta? And then I was like, I don't think that's what it's going to be, but maybe.
They don't seem like the way Shasta talks about her does not seem like they are like buddy.
Yeah, no, I don't think they're allies. I think the reality is we simply don't know the person who she's talking to, and it doesn't really matter.
It sounded like a man's voice, but yeah, this could be a mystery, but it also could just not matter at all.
Yeah, it's just someone important to her who she would be sharing this with in a moment of vulnerability.
She's smoking a joint, so the kids were right. The kids were right about her. She's smoking a joint.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really love the like what you have said over the course of the show has been true, that like we are being led to believe perhaps that we shouldn't take her at face value, and as you said, she knows something more than she's letting on, and that might spur this level of distrust. We've talked about the fact that the kids are ready to make up these stories about her being this horribly evil like succubus. We've talked about how the kids always frame her as like the antagonist in the story, and so there's a lot of uncertainty around her as a character. But I really like that what we at least give her in this moment is this idea that she's also, on top of everything, just like every time she loses one of these kids, it's really hard for her, and especially this one, who she said reminded her so much of her son in Anya. It's really tough. So getting the moment of getting to see her like hang the picture on the wall and really fucking with her, I thought that was very powerful.
Yeah. She also said Anya reminded her of herself when she kind of not confronted herself, her. Right?
Yeah. She's also listening to Seasons in the Sun, which is like, are you trying to make yourself sad? Is that what you're trying to do? Listen to the song while you're smoking and remembering this poor girl that you've just lost? Ugh.
Yeah. Yep. And then we get the ending moment where she says, someone's going to leave. One of my kids is going to leave.
Yep. So we are doing that plot line.
And it's going to be Sherry.
It's going to be Alanka, actually. Surprise. She's going to think it's her, and she's going to be right.
I considered that for a second, and I decided it was not.
So you're still pretty sold on it being Shuri, ultimately being Shuri?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's really like, it's either going to be Shuri or Sandra. I'm trying not to second guess myself, right? There's just so many indications that it's Shuri, because like she hasn't told the story. She's not connected to the others in the same way. I feel like if it was Sandra, I'm not saying that couldn't work, but I'm having a hard time seeing how does that play into her arc?
Sure.
Exactly.
Sure. Yeah. It's fair.
Could work though. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, we'll see. So let's wrap up with the funeral.
Yep.
I do think it's funny, by the way, that Stanton, this is another classic teen move of Stanton goes and lectures all the children on disobeying, and being out at night and tells them to go back to their rooms immediately, and she'll decide whether she's going to let them even out of their rooms at nighttime. And they say, nope. we're gonna immediately disobey you and go have a funeral for Anya. I love it. It's a very young adult thing to do.
It's almost like calling her bluff too, because it's like, are you really going to stop us from having a funeral for our friend?
Definitely.
You're not. Yeah. And yeah, it's a beautiful, sad moment. They play the song. It's interesting. The song Good Riddance.
Yep, which is perfect for Anya. Everyone calls it the time of your life.
Is that actually called Good Riddance?
I actually read that like the song was called Good Riddance and with in parentheticals time of your life, but then like so many people called it time of your life that an alternate title of the song is literally just with the Good Riddance portion in parenthetical, which is very funny.
Okay.
So this is a Green Day song. For all the children listening to this podcast right now, I don't think they do this anymore, but I don't think you folks understand, for us 90s kids, just like how incredibly pervasive this song was.
Yeah.
In our, like, every class from like 1998 to 2008, I'm guessing this was the class song. This was the song played at graduation. It was just like the thing that was done. Right?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it's interesting because I think of it as a breakup song, which, you know, if you read the lyrics, first of all, like every song is a breakup song. But also it's kind of obviously a breakup song, but it works for any, you know, abstract, you know, ending of something type moment. And so that's why it works perfectly as either a graduation song or as a funerary song.
Yeah. It is a breakup song, by the way. It is about, it is, Billy Joe is singing about a girlfriend that like moved out of the country and just dumped him.
but it's like, that's what makes it really good, is it's general and abstract enough to really touch you in any moment where you're at the end of something.
Yeah.
And it's a good, like, it's an unusual sort of song because it's got the violins in there, and it's acoustic and minor key.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a good song.
Well, here's the fascinating thing about it for me is it's so cliched and overused that, like, if you told me on paper before watching the show that, and then in one of the most powerful emotional moments of the show, you're going to hear Good Riddance from Green Day, I would be like, terrible fucking idea. Awful idea. Why would you ever do that? No, it's too much. It's too used. It's too much. And yet, Cherie sits down and starts playing it on the cello, and you're just like, oh, okay, I'm here. I'm here for this. Yeah. It works. It works in a way that, like, you know, we've talked about Flanagan and his team and their just like willingness to take risks and like adapt the unadaptable thing to do something like, I mean, even just taking on the Dark Tower is this gargantuan task that is near impossible. This feels like another moment of like, we're going to take a cliche, like overused graduation song, and we're going to bet that we can do it in a way that you will be profoundly moved. And they were right. They were absolutely right, because I was. And like, I think we should just say, we've talked several times throughout the show about the anachronistic moments of it. This song came out in 1998. This song was not around in 1995 when this show takes place. I do not care about this, but it just shows that this was an important enough moment that neither did the creators of the show care about this. This is, they wanted to build to this moment. And so they did it. And who cares? I don't care. Nobody should care. There's some people out there on the internet that care. I don't understand you. Don't care. It doesn't matter.
When you're making a TV show to be released in the mid 2020s about the abstract 90s, the authenticity of the 90s is that Green Day's entire catalog can be used at any point in the 90s.
Yeah.
That's how the 90s works as a concept.
Yeah. I do want to just say that I think part of the reason of using this song is exactly what you said, is it's a threshold song, it's a breakup song, it's a transitioning from one part of your life to the other song. It is a graduation song, right? And this is where I get to cheat a little bit. Way back in episode 1, where I spent a lot of time talking about the show building all these symbols of Alanka should be graduating, should be going from one phase of her life to the other, and is instead going from a phase of life to a phase of death. And like, I get to say all that stuff in episode 1, knowing that the song was going to be played in episode 7 as kind of the culmination of that idea. And I think that is intentional, right? They have taken what is a song that teenagers play upon their graduation, that is class defining, of like, the point of this being played at graduation is to say we are now moving away from that phase of my life. And the idea of playing it at a funeral for someone is highlighting how unfair it is that she's not getting to do this, but also kind of taking it back in a way and saying that just because she didn't get to experience that doesn't mean that this can't hold profound meaning for her and for the rest of them. And I just really like that. And that's why I think I kind of just shrug off the, oh my gosh, this is one of the most overheard and overplayed songs of the late 90s.
Yeah.
And it doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah. I mean, I think to me, what you said, and also just boils down to like, this is what these kids would be doing in this situation.
Yeah.
Setting aside this slight anachronism, the authenticity trumps, I don't know, overexposure or whatever. This just made sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I love it.
I guess the actual last moment, I know we're sort of like spinning around the ending here, but we talked about Stan being on the phone saying somebody's going to leave. What we didn't talk about is the fact that Alanka overhears this, then runs back to her room, and then like is haunted by the old lady ghost, and then collapses.
It's the only element of the episode I don't love. It's like the only little bit I don't really love. I mean, I don't hate it. I don't even dislike it, but I don't love it in the way I love the entire rest of the episode.
I think I feel you, but I think I think I would have just ended it 30 seconds earlier.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
She goes into her room and slams the door. Because what are we adding? Like, I'm already invested. That's already a cliffhanger. The cliffhanger is, who is it? Who's going to be the one who survives?
Yeah, but it feels like a very specific Netflix notey type of engagement data analytics metric of we need to end on a scare moment, and it is an escalation of, like, this is not the first time we've seen this woman. This is not even the first time we've seen creepy old mirror man, who, by the way, I don't know if you know, he's the smoking man from X-Files. I don't know if we've said that, but that's who's playing that character.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it is an escalation of that, right? Like, so far, this woman, the spooky old woman, has really just like stood and creeped out Alanka by just being there, right? This is the first time she's like actively moving towards her and saying things like, "I'm so hungry."
Yeah. Right. She seemed to be hunting Anya before, and now she's hunting Alanka.
Yeah.
Is one way of looking at it, maybe.
Yeah, and then she jumps into the bathroom, and then once again we see smoking man in the mirror. And every time Alanka has seen smoking man in the mirror, she passes out, and that's how the episode ends again. So yeah, I mean, like, in an episode that I find so profoundly beautiful and moving, it's just like a hanging thing on it that it's just like, couldn't we have just pushed this to the start of next episode or something? Like, but I think it's for exactly what we said. It's for the engagement analytics that show that if you end on this beat, people will click next episode instead of going to bed.
Probably right.
So I don't know, but
that's okay.
It doesn't ruin the episode for me. Certainly, it's my favorite episode of the show, and I love it dearly.
Yep.
So what is your... Okay, so you've said your theory on who's going home is, just so we're on the same page, like there's 100% chance that Alanka is thinking it's her right now, right?
Well, I was thinking that at that, because that's what lines up with the book, is that Alanka assumes that it's her because she wants it to be her so badly.
Mm-hmm.
But then the fact that she like literally collapses in the bathroom made me think like, well, that means she's probably not like that's the way you end an episode if you want to segue into this character is not doing well at all at the start of the next episode.
Sure.
So,
but it could be the book version of like, I really want to go to get another scan because I think I'm all better now, but also my insides are really hurting, and those two things probably have no relation to each other at all. So it might just be setting up that she's deluding herself to this while at the same time clearly progressing in her disease.
It's possible.
Yeah. Okay. You got any theory on who these old people are that we keep seeing?
Well,
and maybe the more important question is, how the hell is this going to tie into anything that the story is doing?
I mean, I think there's this idea. I was gonna like make some stupid quip about the Marston house, but like I it doesn't make any sense. I think like the idea of there being this legend of some magic in this place that extends people's lives is connected to the idea that there's, you know, possibly some other group of old people who either were here or their ghosts are still here and they're trying to extend their lives. And maybe there is truly some magic. Like I don't actually think Shasta was lying when she said, you know, the ritual doesn't always work. There probably is a kind of ritual that you can do in this place that probably extends your life, but it's probably a vampiric ritual, like we said before. And you know, the kids were not sufficiently vampiric when they cut themselves and they gave, you know, they touched Anya. If some of them had died, it siphoned their life force into Anya, maybe she would have survived. That, you know, it could be just as simple as this place has a lot of darkness to it, and you just have to have the wisdom to not do that.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe there's these ghosts here that are basically the people who are now trapped in the house because they did that or something like that.
Okay.
Something along these lines. Because look, like I'm just trying to connect the ideas that we have at this point. The ideas that we've been given are semi-vampiric life extension magic and also creepy ghosts in the house. And it's like, okay, that's the best way I can think of to connect those things.
Okay, cool. I'm not going to say anything, but...
Cool.
Yeah.
Good. Fine.
I think one thing I want to make sure we mention before we break, though, is we have not talked about the moment with Alanka and Kevin on the beach where he stays behind to support her. They have a moment. She executes on the moment, and it does not go well for her at all. I was thinking of our conversation about Amesh and the idea of they probably want, just go for it.
Just go for it. What's the worst that could happen? Oh, he could tell you that nothing matters.
Yeah, God, I meant to go back and look at the book to see if this is a quote from the book, because it felt like a book quote where he says, "Don't spin out. It doesn't matter. All of us here were already gone."
All of us here.
That felt like a book quote, but I couldn't remember.
We're already gone.
I don't know. It's very sad.
It's very sad.
I didn't even feel like it was awkward so much as just depressing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it gives once again, Kevin has kind of remained throughout the show this mystery, because I think he is, we've talked about this a few times, he is very careful at how he presents to everyone. This very manicured version of himself that he is presenting, and I think we've seen that kind of come down around Alanka because he feels this connection with her. But this is definitely a window into like our boy Kevin is not doing very well at all. He's doing very bad, and maybe this is leading into. I honestly don't remember if next episode is the conclusion of the Wicked Heart or not. Honestly, do not remember. Not trying to be coy or anything here, but maybe this is what's leading into that, and that's we're gonna get some time with Kevin. We've left this open for like a future conversation between the two of them now about what's going on between them, and therefore what's going on with Kevin. But yeah, man. Painful stuff.
Well, the next episode is called Criminal Hearts, apparently.
No, it's not.
It's not? Oh.
The next episode is called Road to Nowhere. I am 100% positive. I don't see that on the... I don't think any of the episodes are called Criminal Hearts.
I've really come to love Google lately, where you'll ask it something and it'll just be like, no. No, it's called Criminal Hearts. No, I'm not lying. The thing that I looked at. I mean, you're right. I should be clear, but Google has very clearly indicated to me that episode 8 is called Criminal Hearts.
That's hilarious because it's not as if they just got them out of order. There is no episode of the Midnight Club called Criminal Hearts.
Man, wow! Just nothing is reliable anymore.
Google used to be the most reliable search, and then they brought Gemini into things, and it all went to shit.
Oh my god, this is
okay. The last 3 episodes are Road to Nowhere, The Eternal Enemy, and the final episode of the show is called Midnight.
And then the secret episode, Criminal Hearts.
Episode 11, Criminal Hearts. I don't even know what that would be.
I want to write the script for Criminal Hearts now.
I bet you were excited though when it gave you that though, because you're like, oh, the next episode is definitely going to be the conclusion to the Wicked Heart because the episode is titled Criminal Hearts.
I was exactly. I was like, well, problem solved. Nope. Just being lied to.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Kevin. Good old Kevin.
Yep.
Criminal Hearts.
Love that kid. All right.
Is Criminal Hearts even a Christopher Pike novel? I'm really curious where it got this. We don't have to talk about this anymore, but I'm just very curious.
It
does not appear to be a Christopher Pike novel.
It's a play.
Cool.
And it's a movie.
Cool. Never seen it. All right. Anything else you wanted to say about episode 7, Anya?
No, I think we hit all the points.
Were you just to make sure because I just want to make sure we follow up on what we said last week, which is because I think the working theory going into this episode was that the ritual was going to work, but it was not going to work in the way we intended. We thought it was going to work, right? That there would be consequences, that someone would be hurt. It didn't really pan out that way. Are you surprised that the end conclusion was basically it just didn't work?
A little bit. Okay. So here's the thing.
Oh, you're gonna go 4D chess with this. I can feel it.
Well, I don't think it's that many Ds. I think it's normal 2D chess. Simply the fact that this is okay. No, this is what Ilanka is going to think. Like actually, she's going to think, oh my God, what's her name got a call on the phone immediately after we did the ritual saying that somebody's going home. That means it did work. It just didn't work on Anya. That's what she's going to think.
Okay.
It's not true. Maybe it's true.
Maybe it's true.
Maybe it could be true.
Yeah. I think that would be a fair, I think you are showing a very, very complete understanding of the character to make that prediction. I'm not going to say whether you're correct or not, but I think that feels very true to Ilanka. Yes.
Cool. Okay.
Cool. All right. Episode 7, The Midnight Club, Anya, Criminal Hearts. Good times.
I'm so excited about criminal arts.
All right. Are we on to discussion questions? We are. So this is a delay. I'm trying to carry on with the show, Matt.
It's just so stupid. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
This is a week delayed discussion question, right? Because we had to record last week's episode way early, so we didn't have time to gather the answers for that question. So this is still the question from episode 5. See you later.
That's right. And it was a really serious question, really plumbing the depths of everyone's psyches and morality. And I think this is just one of those questions for the ages, really, sort of questions that we ask ourselves late at night when we can't sleep, which was, of course, is it cheating with your time traveling girlfriend / boyfriend from the future? I assume future.
Well, you're opening up a very troubling idea here.
All right. So the first answer to this conundrum of the ages from Hobo Demon. Practical considerations. First off, determine what kind of time travel was engaged in. If it's a deterministic time travel situation, then whatever happens was always going to have happened, and you should take care to avoid causing temporal paradoxes by allowing the younger version of your partner to learn about how they have engaged in advanced forms of cuckoldry. Worst case scenario, it could trigger a false vacuum decay event that destroys the universe.
Holy shit.
This makes the ethical considerations complicated, as communication about potential extra monogamous activity is a vital part of the process of practicing non-monogamy ethically. Okay. My wife, for example, states she would only consider such an act not to be cheating if it was a three-way, presumably with her younger self as the third partner. If we destroy the world by means of kink, I apologize in advance. Additional concerns include whether the time traveler really is a time traveler and whether their interaction with either party to the relationship from their relative past violates the age divided by 2 + 7 rule of determining when age gaps are creepy. Scientific research into non-traditional romantic situationships are ongoing, but recent studies have confirmed that when it squirms up a ramp to eat squid from a clamp, that's amore. So who are we to judge from outside of Mobius love polygon whether anachronistic quasi-monogamy constitutes cheating in the minds of the parties involved?
I've got so many follow-up questions. There's a lot of them.
Well, thank you for your answer, Hobo Demon. I feel a lot of clarity on this topic now. I feel comfortable in saying that I think I fully understand all of the ethical dimensions of this problem after that answer.
I have a question.
Yes.
In this hypothetical three-way, in which you and the future version of yourself are 2 of the 3, is that incest?
No.
Okay. You seem really confident about that.
I'm more confident in that than I am confident that this situation is not cheating.
Okay.
I'll put it that way.
All right. Is it any kind of cest? Is it outcest?
I mean, I don't think so.
I don't think we have words to describe what is morally wrong with that, but there's got to be something.
I mean, I think that's called masturbation.
Well, yeah, but
it's just with 2 people who are both you. Thank you, and you're welcome.
Why did we do this? Why did we ask this question?
No, this is great. This is the best
Ketchup Reads says, defo cheating. I'm an atheist, and my understanding of the individual is that the actual personhood of humans is their consciousness. That's what makes a human, as opposed to a soul or something. It's one reason why I have a general detachment concerning dead bodies. I study skeletons for a living. Oh. Once the brain stops, the person stops. Still be respectful for what was, but I'm still holding a simple femur in my hand. Anyways, if you partake in sexy times with the future iteration of someone, the consciousness that you are in a monogamous relationship with is not involved. It's a new brain, which equals cheating. Even if they time traveled into the present body, the consciousness is different. Thus, it's a different person. What would be the real kicker is just invite both iterations to sexy times, and now it's wackadoo time. Why have both answers? Why are we doing this?
Yeah. It's the first thing you think of.
What concerns me more is on the part of Becky, though. I'm pretty sure these are supposed to be high schoolers, so she's like preying on a teenager, and with hidden knowledge that'll help her very successfully manipulate him. Gross, Becky. I mean, it is a little gross, Becky. I'm pretty sure they're supposed to be 18, so I think we're legally in the clear.
Yeah, it's highly unclear what the actual time deltas are here. It is a little icky if you think about it for more than a second. I don't know. I don't know. You know, is our brains, because I could say to you, Catch Reads, it's not a new brain. It's the same brain. That's what makes it tricky to me. It's actually literally the same brain. It's just gone in a big old circle on the closed time-like curve. And so it's not clear to me that it's a different consciousness or that it's a different brain. It's just that now there are two of the same one.
If you
put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Have sex with the future version of your ship that has been Theseus, is it a different ship?
I believe that's coming up in a moment. Duran Longbeard says, so I went to my wife and I said, wife, would it be okay if I cheated on Gong? After I woke up from getting slapped with the frying pan, I had my answer. And that answer is no. Gentlemen, it is not okay to cheat on your wife. Riddle solved.
The issue I have with the way Duran Longbeard responded to this question is it just seems like he made it seem like I'm looking for an excuse to cheat on my wife, which is, to be clear, everyone, not the case. Because last time I checked, there's no such thing as time travel. So I just want everyone to know that, because I just feel like, gentlemen, it is not okay to cheat on your wife is laying some implication down that I'm not sure I'm comfortable with.
Yeah. I'm still pretty unsure about all this, to be honest. I don't feel like I've gotten a satisfactory clarifying answer. I'm feeling very conflicted.
Well, let's going.
Move on.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Isn't it yours?
Didn't I just do the...
Oh, you did. Yeah, it's mine. Sorry.
Yeah.
Frequent Peanut 5092. Great name. Love it. So my husband and I met later in life, and by later I mean in our 30s. We often joke about how we wish we had met sooner so as to have more time together, more time with our kids, etc. And yet, whenever this topic comes up, we always stop ourselves and say it might not have worked if we had met earlier. We needed to go through all of our lives up until that point in order to be the right person for each other. So with that thought in mind, yes, it's cheating. 5 years, 10 years, 25 years older, younger selves are such different people. Would my husband probably enjoy hooking up with a 20-year-old me? Probably. But would it have the same, but it wouldn't have the same meaning, the same history, the same shared life experience. My husband, reading over my shoulder, agrees, but is now arguing that if he went back in time to influence his younger self to find younger me, and here comes a full day of existential debate about time travel. So short but longer answer, yes, it's cheating.
Upset to see that you've spoiled my web serial with your answer, but no. No, that's life experiences thing is really what matters, right? I mean, if we're gonna just take a break and just be serious for 1 second, I do think that the distinction between me and me 20 years ago and me 20 years from now is the life experiences which effectively make me a different person, and that's what makes it, actual. I think you could sharpen this up by saying, like, it kind of feels worse the bigger the time delta is. If it's like, oh, they time traveled from 3 days from now, that's not cheating. Like that's an easy one. It's not. it's just them from 3 days from now, or 3 days in the past. Nothing has gone wrong here. If it's 20 years, it starts to be a different matter.
Okay, but I don't disagree with you. But don't you think, to the person that knows that their husband had sex with someone that wasn't them, like the them that is this person right now, don't you feel like your partner has this is why this is actually a wonderful question, because it's fast. It basically ties into your understanding of consciousness, your understanding of self, your all these things, because it goes back to the whole my whole Prestige comparison again, that the two versions of the guy are technically the same version, but what if I'm the version, my consciousness is the version that ends up drowning in the tank? What if my consciousness is the one that ends up knowing that my wife has slept with someone else, even if it's me, but it's a different me?
Well, see, that forces me to return to the first answer about what kind of time travel is it, because if it really is only a matter of a few days, then you actually get to be that guy in like 3 days.
That's true.
This is going to be a great short film, Scott.
We should stop recording.
We should.
Trademark.
Yeah.
Trademark.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Cool.
Because if imagine, like, that's a fun concept. I'm just going to say it. The idea that you're super pissed off because you realize that this happened, but then in 3 days you're the guy who goes back and does it. Like that's it's got comedy and pathos. It's okay.
Love it.
Yeah. All right. Last one.
Yeah.
Brave Run says, every romantic relationship is its own ecosystem consisting of whatever unique biomes each participant represents. The key to a healthy relationship is working together to blend your biomes in a way that promotes growth, balance, and support. The more integrated your biomes become, the more likely it is that you will discover surprising elements in one another. The continued health of the relationship relies on the successful integration of all parts, no matter how foreign or alarming. In rare cases, a biome may reveal an element previously considered to be impossible by one or all participants in the relationship. One such theoretical element is the introduction of time travel. In this essay, I will... JK. I think it all comes down to intent, communication, and consent. If everyone involved knows what's going on, is excited about the idea, and is an adult, I think they're in the clear. Depending on the kinds of time travel rules we're dealing with, you could even have multiple instances of each participant involved in a single encounter.
What the fuck is wrong with you people? 3 of the 5.
Everyone's mind goes to the same place. See, I said a previous week, everybody's a little freak, actually, a little pervert. And that's okay. That's what brings us all together.
Indeed. We got death, we got taxes, and we got weird kinks. It's the universalities.
Yep. Wanting to have sex with multiple copies of your
self
for the other and self, possibly. Both, actually, ideally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
I love it.
All right, just quickly, I mean, I regret that we have to truncate these, honestly, at this point, but remaining answers real briefly. Bluegrass Biker says, yes, it's cheating. The person is more than a physical body. They're comprised of experiences. And they mentioned the Ship of Theseus problem. But, Ship of Theseus is more of a question to me than an answer. So anyway. Busy Dad 82 says, yes, it's betrayal of trust, like a partner being under the influence or incapacitated. Well, that's like a really serious bummer of an answer, Busy Dad. I don't like how grounded and practical that is. That makes it seem really obvious that it is cheating. Damn it.
Damn it. My
Amaranth
plan.
Phantom. Yeah. Amaranth Phantom says it's not cheating because it's already their hall pass. Not a bad hall pass.
I know these are supposed to be quick answers and we're supposed to be wrapping up, but like the concept of the hall pass is like a joke we all have. Is there a human being that has ever like executed on that? Like,
probably. There's a lot of human beings.
That's true. But like,
and there's a lot of variety.
So in my definition of hall pass, though, it's like people so far out of your league and like famous, right? Like hall pass cannot be just like the girl I have a crush on from work. It's never going to happen, but it could happen. It has to be like famous movie star, right? Right?
I mean, I'm sure that in the wide history of humanity, someone has gamified and munchkined the rules of the hall pass and then probably gotten broken up with.
But that's just like an open relationship. If you're saying like your hall pass is person you know that you see at the coffee store sometimes, that's a whole different ball game in my estimation.
That's true. Hall passes are supposed to be a sort of flirtatious way of being like, this is someone I find hot.
Yeah.
And I'm admitting that in a sort of constructed narrative space that you and I are creating together.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mary Liz 19 says that they tell a story about a friend who claimed that it's not cheating if they have the same first name. Not sure if that's accurate, Mary Liz's friend, but good try, I guess.
Was it? I think it was the movie Road Trip, where it's like it's not cheating if you're in a different state or something ridiculous.
Like
I think something like that. Yeah.
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 And finally, Steve Living Room CO says, yes. No. I don't know. Which, Steve Living Room, thank you for summarizing this entire discussion.
That's the answer right there. Yeah.
The end.
The end. All right. That was fun. That was as fun as I wanted it to be. Thank you, everyone, for participating. I enjoyed that. All right, Matt, what is our question for next week?
Next week's question is, what's your favorite episode of a show or perhaps chapter of a thing that kind of starts in media res in like in a different world, and it's weird, and you're like, wait a minute, this isn't what's supposed to be happening in this episode, in this show. There are supposed to be more people on the Enterprise. Why is it only Beverly Crusher? And over the course of the episode, you figure out what's going on.
So when I write this down in the show notes, do you want me to put all that?
No, I think you can say a favorite episode of a thing that starts in a different world than usual, and you have to figure out what's going on.
Okay, that works. I think this is a great question. We can maybe just call it like favorite instance of Anya-ing.
Okay.
To shorten it. And then that forces people to listen to the episode before they answer the question, so they know what we mean. Yeah. I'm probably just going to do what you said, but no, this is really cool. I'm thinking of some examples already that aren't Star Trek: The Next Generation. Of course, there are many that aren't.
Right.
All right, folks, that is going to do it this week. As Matt so correctly put, episode 8 is next week, and it is titled "Road to Nowhere."
That's right. Criminal. What did I say? Criminal Hearts. That's what Scott said. Remember, you can reach us via email at flanaganswakepod@gmail.com, over on X at flanaganswake19, and on the subreddit at reddit.com/r/doofmedia. Also, don't forget that every episode can be found in video over on YouTube and Spotify. And if you're watching on YouTube, please leave us a comment and let us know what you think.
Yeah. And please don't forget to head over to doofmedia.myshopify.com to look for the Eliza collection. And if you want to purchase any of that wonderful artwork that Eliza contributed to us, you can do that, and all that money will go to Camp Can Do, which we so desperately want to help to give some kids some great time, some kids that are going through a lot, some great time at camp to feel like just kids. They get to have fun and go to camp. Once again, that's doofmedia.myshopify.com.
And if you like our shows and you want to support Doof Media, then please consider heading to support us at patreon.com/doofmedia. Got a bunch of cool bonus features over there.
Yeah, we should have new episodes of 2. I think by the time people are hearing this, we will have already announced the winners of our giveaway. We're doing a fun giveaway where we're giving away 2 copies of Saros, the new video game that our friend of the show, Raul Coley, is like the lead of. So we thought it'd be fun to kind of celebrate his game coming out, to give away 2 copies of that. But we announced that over on our Patreon, and yeah, I'm looking at the calendar right now, and by the time you're hearing this, we will have already pulled our winners. But I'm saying this now because we're probably going to do more stuff like this in the future. So if you want to just check in on the Patreon so you don't miss cool opportunities like that, you should do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But if you can't support us on Patreon, obviously totally understand. You can help out by continuing to share the podcast. Please keep doing that. We are rounding third base and heading home for the Midnight Club. We've only got 3 episodes left, and then we're moving on to the Fall of the House of Usher. So it's a great time to share the podcast with people. We've got lots coming up in the future. Very exciting stuff. So share the podcast, leave us rating and reviews, do that whole thing. It really does help us. Please help us out by doing that.
Yes, thank you.
All right. We did it. Thank you, everyone. Sorry it was a little bit of a longer one, but I think this is a good episode, Matt. How are you feeling? How are you feeling about this episode?
Yeah, I think it was good.
Yeah. All right. Next week we'll be back. Until then, rest in peace with your criminal heart, Mr. Flanagan.
Such a genius for titling episodes.